What's up, YouTube? Night Edge here again. Got a pretty awesome video for you today. Been looking forward to doing this one ever since I first laid eyes on these three knives. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. First time I ever started watching Metal Complex. You know, Shabazz, Metal Complex, mainly Metal Complex with the Strider and the Hinderer and everything. This holy trinity of EDC-ness, or whatever you want to call it, the three top-of-the-line, small batch, American-made knives. I never thought I'd be able to do this video, so I'm pretty happy to be able to do it. Two of these knives, the Strider and the Reeve. It's a Benza 31. This is the large one, was lent to me by Mr. Eddie. So definitely a big shout out to him, Mr. Eddie _411 on Instagram. And also he's got a YouTube channel now. That'll be linked down below. He's got a lot of cool knives. Great dude, great channel. But anyway, before we get into this, I want to thank everyone who's liked all the videos, subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate all my subscribers. And Patreons and channel members. Man, this has been an awesome ride, and you guys are awesome. And this is kind of like a personal milestone for me, being able to do this battle video for you with these three awesome knives, because these are, you know, definitely knives I would, two of them at least, are knives I wouldn't have been able to check out otherwise. Hopefully this will probably be the next one. As far as the American-made small batch Trinity goes, the American-made, you know, what they call the holy trinity of EDC, which is, you know, I mean, that was a few years ago when they came out with that term, and it's kind of, it's aged pretty well. I mean, these are all three still awesome knives. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and get into them. You got, in this corner, Mick Strider with his SNG, right? Strider Knives, Strider SNG. You got Rick Hinderer with his XM18. This, in fact, is a 3.5 inch Skinner. And you got Reeve, Tino blade shape on this one. Large Benza 31. Alright, so these knives that have a few similarities, I don't know, overall not too many similarities, other than the fact they're premium small batch American made knives. These two are more readily available. I would say out of all the ones on the table, this one is probably the most available. This one retails around $600 usually, give or take 100 or two for inlays, steel type, you know, handles, all kinds of other stuff. They do have lefties, rights. This one's a right-handed one. All kinds of different versions of this one. They got a small one, all that. So this one's probably the most available of them. This one would be the second most available. Hinderer knives, periodically available in different blade steels, blade shapes. And they actually, I think right now they got the auto available. So this one retails around $425. If you just get the base model, I say base model, I mean $425 is a shitload of money for a knife, right? But you got bronze inlays on this, or bronze titanium on this side. You got G10 inlays on this side, which they do sell single scales you can swap out, which is what I'm planning to do one day eventually, you know. But these are periodically available. If you go on DLT Trading, I've got a link down below. This one you can probably get right now. And this one, the Strider, the SNG, this is a Mr. Eddie handle on it. He patinaed this copper handle, pretty good looking, really. I mean, you get a nice close look at it. I did a review of this one recently too while I got it, but this one is not this one's not near as available. The Strider doesn't do as much production stuff as they used to. They still do custom stuff, and periodically they still do small batch production stuff. You just gotta get them whenever you can. Very hard, you know. I'd say of the three, definitely this one's the hardest one to get for sure. So let's go ahead and we'll do overall measurement. I treat it like a review, but we'll do all three of them. You got from the tip of the blade to the butt of the handle, 8 1/4 on the Strider. On the Hinderer, 8 and right at 8 and 8 and no, a little over 8 1/8, maybe 8 and 3/16. And on the Reeve, right at 8 1/4 overall. Blade length, let's do, well, keep moving them around. Let's do the Strider first, top to bottom. Again, we'll do blade length. Now, overall blade length, if you go all the way back to the end of it where it meets up with the handle, that's 4 inches, you know. If you go in right here, it's still 3 3/4. But sharpen edge length right at 3 inches. That's because of that generous forward choil and also that sharpening choil. Alright, so on the Hinderer, you've got right at 4 inches. You go all the way back to the flipper. Sharpen blade length, you're looking right at 3 1/8. Go from the tip all the way to here. And right about 3 3/4 right there. So yeah, similar, except for the Hinderer doesn't have that sharpening choil, right? The Reeves Sabenza, go from the tip of the blade all the way to where it meets up with the handle. You got 3 5/8 right there. Yeah, 3 5/8, and then you've got on your cutting edge, you've got surprisingly 3 3/8. So the Reeves takes the cake with cutting edge out of all of them. Let's look at blade stock thickness. The caliber's out, zero them out. Yeah. All right, so we'll do the Strider first. Strider SNG, got 163 thousandths. On the edge, you got on the edge, you're sitting right at 25 thousandths or so. All right, on the XM18, what would we say, 163 on the Strider. XM18, 164. Behind the edge, you are sitting at 29. Reeve Sabenza, 122, so thinner than the other two. Blade stock thickness, and let's check this out. See how thin it gets. About 24 and a half, that 24 thousandths. Little minuscule bit of difference right there behind the edge. Reeves knives, seemingly a little thinner overall in stock thickness at the spine for sure than the other ones. 455 thousandths of an inch. This is that's a titanium handles. This is with the G10 on the XM18. You're looking at 520 thousandths, a little bit thicker. This is kind of pointless, but we'll do it anyway. 450 thousandths, so still thinner with the Strider. It's thinnest of the three, but you do have those aftermarket scales, so that's something to definitely keep in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. This is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, another great American-made classic. Just not a small batch, right? So up against the Strider, you got similar ergonomic features for, you know, most of them really. You know, Spyderco definitely sacrifices some of the blade for the finger choil, as does the Strider, and the Hinderer, it's just different amounts of each, right? Sharpen edge length on the Paramilitary 2 is greater than the Strider, right at about the same as the Hinderer, and the Sabenza has a little more. So that's it next up to the Strider, and here it is next up. Up next, can't even talk right. Up next to the Reeves and the Hinderer. And we'll do Paramilitary 2. Or Para 3, I'm sorry. Para 3, definitely smaller than all three. Right? Para 3 is definitely smaller than all three. Alright, let's go ahead and we'll get the scale out. Now this is, the scale is going to be something, you know, this is kind of relative, right? So I would say You know, this is full titanium, right? That's something to keep in mind. These are running around 600 or so, 650. I think this version in particular is right around 650, but that's for full titanium. This is 425. It's got a G10 half on it, but if you buy this titanium scale, this one scale is around 225, so that runs it up to about 650. So really, you know, if they're the same material, they're right around the same price. The Strider, again, they don't do production as much anymore. They're harder to get. You're probably going to end up getting a Strider on the secondary unless you get a custom, and those go for thousands or over 1,000. Copper scales on the Strider SNG, 6.6 ounces. G10 scales on that XM18, 5.5 ounces. All titanium on the Chris Reeves Knives large Sabenza. You're looking at 4.7. We'll run them again. 4.7, 5.5, 6.6. So definitely the Strider is a lot heavier because of, you know, because of the fact that it comes with copper, right? That was changed out again by Mr. Eddie, so that's not like, you know, how it comes from the factory, but that's all I have to go off of. They do come with G10 scales. You know, originally, that I believe that was the scale type. So let's look at carry in the pocket. Get the blue jeans out. We'll do the XM18 first. You're not gonna have a deep carry at all with the XM18. Actually, I think we can, since we're doing all three knives, let's go ahead and see what we got. We'll put them all in the pocket at the same time, yeah. All right, now I would say, in my opinion, getting in and out of the pocket, the XM18 is easier. The Strider has more than the other two sticking out. Sabenza's got the benefit of this lanyard that's already on it to help pull out. All three of them have that little extra sticking out where you can pinch it. They're by far not deep carry. I would say of the three clips, I would prefer the XM18 over the other two. Just because it's a little bit easier to get in and out of the pocket. All right. So anyway, that's your Trinity and blue jeans. All right. So we got the weight. We got size comparisons. I don't know who's winning. I have no idea. I think this comes down mostly to a preference thing. All right. So let's do, it's a T8, yeah, let's do hardware check. Chris Reeve, what is that? A little bit loose on that one. Damn, Eddie. That one's a little bit loose. All right, hardware check on this, T8, 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 pivot, T8, captive pivot, no. False screw, who knows? Microtech taught me that lesson. T8, T8, T8. Very cool, man. Like a T8 all the way around. I don't know what that is. That little lanyard, little barrel looks like it was put there almost just for the lanyard, right? So that's cool. There's no, what is this? No, there's no lock bar like there is here. Lock bar screw. That's a Phillips on the clip on the Hinderer. That's a T8. T8 on the body screws. I need to get another T8 bit. Yeah. And that you can use like a dime or a flathead or anything like that. So flathead, T8, 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 Phillips. Kind of weird, you know. You can also, with this, you got the benefit, you can mount it tip up or tip down. That little tab swaps out with that. See that in my full review of it. This does not have it. And the Strider doesn't have it, right? So I'd say in that category, I would go the Hinderer over them. Let's see, let's check the hardware on this. I think it's definitely bigger than T8. Let's go with, what is this, T10? Yeah, T10, T10, T10. That's some kind of different hardware. I don't know. That's it. Oh, you got that disc right there on the lock bar. I think that's a T8. So we'll check that. Yeah, T8. So T8, T10, and whatever that tool is for the pivot on the Strider. I would say of the three, disassembly, I'd have to give it probably to the Chris Reeve. Just, you know, even though it doesn't have the captive pivot, you know, and stuff. I mean, I think of the three, that Chris Reeve would probably be easier to take apart. Seems like a little bit less hardware. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess you got to figure out more, or I would have to figure out more about it whenever I take it apart, right? So, wipe my fingerprints off of these. These come in various steels. This is MagnaCut on this Strider. Get you a close look of that. A grill knife of mine. MagnaCut USA Strider symbol right there. Right. Hinderer. This one is S45, I believe. Yeah, S45 VN. And this, I think, is MagnaCut. I don't know if it says it anywhere. But yeah, this is MagnaCut. You know, I mean, the blade steels move the price up and down for sure, but when you get into this range, it's like, okay, well, you know, MagnaCut is awesome. MagnaCut's awesome. S45EN's awesome. You know, I mean, these are high dollar premium small batch knives. So to me, ergonomically, the least comfortable would have to be the Chris Reeve. Now, I'll explain why. You can, or the Sabenza, you know, Chris Reeve makes other knives. So you can lock back here and choke up a little bit on it like that, but not too much, right? This Hinderer XM18 with my regular size large hands back here, I'm pretty comfortable. Also choked up like this, I'm pretty comfortable, you know. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now this Strider, to me, takes the cake on the ergonomics department. You know, it looks weird, all that stuff's got this big fat back bottom on it. But choked back, this thing is super comfortable. Choked up is where it's at with this one. You know, you got that jimping on top, that really big jimping on top, actually. Choked up, that where that finger choil's at, everything's, you know, it feels good, you know, to me. So number one, number two, number three is the order that goes, in my opinion, as far as, you know, ergonomics. Now, the Chris Reeve doesn't have a bag spacer, so that's one thing to think about. Neither does the Hinderer. Strider, I'm not sure, man. The Strider might not normally. Now, these are aftermarket scales, so you can't really go off of that, right? But as is, I would give that to the Strider, you know. I don't know who would win. Both of these have little deals that look like thumb studs, but they're really over travel stops. That does. So does the Hinderer. You can also use the Hinderer's thumb studs, I believe. Yeah, as long as you're not holding the frame lock in. Smooth action. Hinderer does have, I would think, the edge on action, because not only is the Hinderer smoother, the Strider does have a little bit of lock stick. The Sabenzas run on washers, so it's a little stiffer, you know. But also with the Hinderer XM18, you got the tri-way pivot system, that symbol right there. So you can, when you get it, it comes with washers, and it comes with nylon washers, and it comes with ball bearings, right? So you can essentially tune this up a lot more to your liking, and a lot more to your standards and what you're looking for than you can with the other two. You know, both these other ones run on washers, which there's nothing wrong with at all, you know. And for running on washers and having lock stick, a little bit of lock stick, not much. This SNG still pretty fine. Chris Reeve, same thing, you know. On this one, the Sabenza doesn't have the lock stick, you know. But it's kind of, it's definitely not drop shut, you know, it's not going to drop shut, but it does have super smooth action, especially for running on washers. It feels really nice, you know, no issues at all with that. As far as lock bar access, I mean, these are all frame locks. Strider's all right, you know, it's kind of flared, kind of a little, you know, not really as elevated. The Hinderer, I do appreciate that jimping right there. That's cool. You know, you don't have that on the Strider. Do you have it on the Sabenza? No. This is kind of thinned out there and there though. But yeah, you do have that jimping right there. That's cool. You know, no issues at all with the lock bar access, neither of those, or this one. You know, but to me, the Sabenza would win when it comes to the category of lock bar access, you know, if that is a category. I guess it is. I'm making it up as I go, right? But yeah, so that's a thing. Sabenza, I wish this thumb stub was on the other side so I can middle finger flick it. The Strider, I wish didn't have as much lock stick, you know, but that is definitely a thing. Not, you know, horribly bad. And I know me and Mr. Eddie both have worked on the lock stick on this thing. It is pretty smooth now, you know. It's very hard to tell that it did have it. And this, I wish this one you could middle finger flick it a little bit easier. You know, you can if you get used to it, for sure. And you can deploy it with the thumb studs, which are also the over travel stops, right? But the primary means of deployment on this one's a flipper tab, and I really don't care for flippers too much, you know, but I did make an exception for this one. You know, this is an awesome knife. So of the three, man, I don't know, it's hard to tell. They all have their ups and downs, you know, but they're all small batch American made awesome knives. So it just depends on what you're looking for. You know, if you're looking for ergonomics, this is right in between. Strider wins, you know. Cutting edge, Sabenza definitely wins. Lot more access, Sabenza definitely wins. Access to the pocket clip, Hinderer wins. Action, Hinderer wins, you know. So definitely all of them have some things that the others don't, you know, which is, I guess, one of the reasons these kind of complete the EDC Holy Trinity or whatever. But I still have to do a full review on this one, by the way. So saving a lot of the smaller details for that. But I was glad to be able to do this. You know, this is a video I've wanted to do for quite a long time. The Holy Trinity, the you know, the big three. Very, very cool. So big shout out to Mr. Eddie. I really appreciate you letting me borrow your knives for this. And appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate everyone that's a Patreon member, subscriber, channel member, everything. You guys are awesome. And I'll see y'all on the next one.